Hey, this is Buck Dharma of Blue Oyster Cult, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
You can put it on the board. Yes. He could go
Welcome to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. Today's show is brought to you by UppercutChops.com. Check out their tasty selection of all natural, dry-aged USDA, prime Angus, and Wagyu steaks and chops. Wait till you taste their best-in-class New York steaks, the filet mignon, and of course the king of all those gigantic cowboy cut and tomahawk cut ribeyes. Best I've ever had. Probably be the best you ever have as well. Check them out at UppercutChops.com. That's UppercutChops.com. Or give them a call, find out what's for dinner. 714-948-0100. 714-948-0100. Again, 714-948-0100 for UppercutChops.com. All right, and a big welcome in to everybody listening in on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates from coast to coast, also Fox News affiliates. Everybody listening in or watching on Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, Oceanic, Time Warner, Spectrum, Wild Charter, and independent cable affiliates in select markets. Thanks for joining us. Also on Hotel TV, same there. Also the streaming platforms. And by the way, our friends over at Vacation Buddies are looking to give you a couple of nights right here in Las Vegas or in Orlando, Florida, or in Branson, Missouri, if you can answer a simple trivia question. What is the name of the professional National Hockey League team in Las Vegas? Is it the Mammoth, the Kraken, or the Golden Knights? If you know the answer, call 888-576-5777, 888-576-5777, 888-576-5777. Vacation Buddies is not affiliated with this station, but they want to give you a couple of nights right here in Las Vegas, Orlando, or in Branson, Missouri. If you know the answer to that simple trivia question, again, which of these is the NHL hockey team name for Las Vegas? Is it the Mammoth, the Kraken, or the Golden Knights? 888-576-5777 if you know the answer. All right, we're going to get to hockey a little bit down the road here. Maybe not today, but there's a lot going on in the hockey world. However, we're getting into college football. Why? It's that time of year. And listen, folks, it's that same college football playoff nonsense seemingly over and over and over. Looking at the top 25 according to the college football playoff, and we'll contrast that with, of course, the regular Associated Press on the coaches poll, and maybe UPI. But number 25 in the college football top 25, college football playoff, is Arizona State. 24 is Tulane. 23 is the University of Houston. Missouri all the way down to 22. Illinois up to 21. Tennessee steady at 20. Virginia at 19. Michigan climbing the ranks, number 18. Texas also climbing at 17. Georgia Tech climbing at 16. Here's where it gets a little dicey. We don't know what's going to happen here. USC is up to 15. Vanderbilt is 14th, which in my opinion is not right. Miami is 13. Utah is 12. That's the cutoff point, folks. 12 because you take the top 12. Utah is 12, but then again, there's that group of 5 situation. We're going to get to that in a minute. Brigham Young is 11, certainly deserving of that 11. Alabama drops down to 10. Notre Dame is at number 9. Oklahoma jumps up to number 8 with that big win at Alabama. Oregon steady at 7. Ole Miss at 6. They probably should be a little higher. Texas Tech at 5. Georgia jumps up to number 4, replacing Alabama. Texas A&M stays at 3. Indiana stays at 2. And Ohio State stays at 1. I don't think that's right. So when we look at these, you say, all right, what are we trying to achieve as far as when we look at these? What is it that we're really looking for? Well, I think we're looking for playoff scenarios. I think we're looking for first-round matchups, potential quarterfinal matchups, and then, of course, semifinals and the finals. But as I see it right now, there's a lot to be determined here in this ranking. And frankly, I'm looking at the collegefootballplayoff.com, and I'm so disgusted with it, I'm just going to click off of it. I don't like it. Let's go over to the, well, tell you what. Let's look at the AP Top 25 in contrast. Now, the AP Top 25, they have Houston at 25 versus the College Football Playoff has them at 23. Tulane is number 24 in both. Missouri in the AP Top 25 is 23 and the College Football Playoff 22. The Mean Green of North Texas is not even in the College Football Playoff ranking in the first place, which is absolutely ridiculous because the Mean Green, boy, they are good. They are really good. They're not even in the College Football Playoff ranking, yet they're 22 in the AP poll, which they should be higher. Same thing with James Madison. James Madison should probably be somewhere around 14 or 15, and they are 21st in the AP Top 24, or top 25 poll, that is, and they jumped up 3 slots from 24, and they're not even in the College Football Playoff poll. Again, lunacy as I see it. Tennessee occupies both spots at 20. Virginia does the same. Michigan does the same. Texas the same. USC in the AP Top 25 is 16, and they're 15 in the CFP. They only jumped up 1 in the AP, 2 in the college football. Miami is Georgia Tech will go. Georgia Tech is 15 in the AP poll. However, Georgia Tech is 16 in the college football. So USC and Georgia Tech flip-flopped in both those polls. Miami is 14 in the AP, 13 in the college football. Utah is 13 in the AP, but they are in the top 12, which matters, in the CFP. Now, Vanderbilt is number 12 in the AP, and they're number 14 in the CFP. Again, there's something to be said about that. I don't think that's right. Brigham Young is 11 in both. Alabama's 10. Notre Dame. Oklahoma are 10, 9, and 8. And then you have Texas Tech in the AP at number 6, and they have them number 5 in the CFP. Oregon number 6. Actually, it's a tie. Oregon and Ole Miss are battling that one out. But apparently the AP Top 25's got Ole Miss at number 5 and number 6 in the CFP. And then Georgia, Texas A&M, Indiana, and those guys from Columbus round out the top 25. And what I don't really understand here is, again, Indiana has one more win than those guys from Columbus, and they still sit 51 points behind in the voting from the Associated Press, which makes no sense to me. And I say it every week because it keeps being it every week. And Indiana's playing really, really good ball. Likely Heisman Trophy winner in Mendoza as the quarterback for that squad. They do play some defense. Those guys from Columbus play a little bit better brand of defense. I think offensively, the guys from Bloomington, Indiana, play a better brand of offense. So if you have the offense-defense matchup, I mean, look, these two are on a collision course for the Big Ten title game, and that's the only place they're going to face each other, or the next place, I should say. And then, I suppose, after that, it could come down to potentially, if they both are on the same path and they do the same thing like they're supposed to do as projected, then they'll meet potentially in the college football playoff championship. Now that is apparently, as you look at the brackets, they have it set up where either two SEC teams could play each other in the final, or two Big Ten teams can play each other in the final. I guess there is a possibility of two Big 12 teams facing off as well, and that's why Oklahoma and Texas A&M are in that. Actually, not Oklahoma. Strike that. You have Texas A&M and Brigham Young that will probably be there, along with either Utah or Brigham Young will represent out of one of those two. And for the highest ranked group of 5, that's why I mentioned this before, the highest ranked group of 5 will take the last spot in the college football playoff, which isn't right. I mean, what if they're the best team in the country? Why would they have to be in last place? That, to me, that makes no sense. What if they are the perfect team, everybody else has a loss or two or whatever? What if it was North Texas or James Madison, two very good squads? James Madison, boy, they are tough. Let's just say it was James Madison, the Dukes. And let's say they were undefeated, even though they're not. And everybody else has a couple of losses. Why would they be in the last spot? Don't you think they'd occupy the top spot? Oh, that's right. No, because the Power 4 get spots 1 through 4. And then all the at-large happen there, which, again, this is absolutely against what makes sense in the ground. I think it's fair. We're going to pick up with college football when we come back here in a few minutes on The Circus. Lots more to come, folks. Don't go anywhere.
Stop it! Stop it! Stop it! Stop it!
Why isn't this an awkward moment?
Every business needs customers, even yours. The Sports Circus is a primetime nationally syndicated program that's carried on ABC, NBC, CNBC, and Westwood One News affiliates, plus CBS, Fox, and NBC sports affiliates across North America, with coverage from Hawaii to New York. Also, the Sports Circus is available to the 180 million subscribers on iHeartRadio, and the Sports Circus gets about 4 million website visitors per month, which could click through your website and bring sales. The Sports Circus provides great content featuring celebrity guests from sports and entertainment to our audience every weekday, which your company could greatly benefit from by increasing your visibility, foot traffic, eyeballs to your website, and calls from potential customers. Call us right now at
714-948-0100. Again, 714-948-0100.
or email us at info@thesportscircus.com. That's info@thesportscircus.com. Drive your sales today by advertising with the Sports Circus.
Do you know someone with a drug or alcohol problem? Get help right now. Insurance may cover everything. Stop the drug and alcohol nightmare. Are drug and alcohol problems hitting you too close to home? Get help right now. Insurance may cover everything.
800-831-1560. 800-831-1560. 800-831-1560. That's 800-831-1560.
Why pay retail for your next car? Just visit beepinautos.com to find your new-to-you car or truck. They find cars for people, even when cars are hard to find. So just go to beepinautos.com and click on Find Me a Car, and they find your perfect car on the wholesale market. beepinautos.com. They're a car concierge. beepinautos.com. BEEPIN autos.com. beepinautos.com. Now you have a friend in the car business when you need it most. Trusted since 2013. Just click Find Me a Car at beepinautos.com.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UppercutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes, are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UppercutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UppercutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door, without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average at best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at UppercutChops.com or call 714-948-0100. 714-948-0100. 714-948-0100. Or make your selection directly at UppercutChops.com.
to the Sports Circus. I'm Roy Firestone. Now it's time to throw it back to Sal.
Thank you, Roy, and welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster, Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. This segment brought to you in part by our friends over at the College of Southern Nevada Athletics. Check them out at csncoyotes.com for upcoming games and events. That's the College of Southern Nevada Athletics, csncoyotes.com. Check them out, folks. All right, welcome back to everybody listening in on our affiliates, including our friends over in Honolulu on CBS Sports 1500 KHKA. That's home of the 49ers, the New York Yankees, and the Alabama Crimson Tide. Welcome in everybody else up and down the West Coast through Los Angeles all the way out to Las Vegas, listening in on Highway Country Radio 101.5 FM and 107.3 FM along that drive up Interstate 15. I took that drive last night, got to tell you folks, listening into Highway Country Radio, listening into the Sports Circus live there. Boy, that was really cool. And, by the way, that is a very, very long signal, too. So, sometimes you're driving up and down the road, maybe you're listening in to FM radio or whatever. You're like, well, geez, it doesn't go for very far, maybe, 20 or 30 minutes or something like that. Then it bleeds into something else. This signal actually goes, if I'm not mistaken, from end to end. I remember looking at the radio locator range on it. It was somewhere around 160 or 170 miles or something like that. A really long range. Anyway, that's Highway Country Radio, folks. Check them out. They also have a great dance station right here in town, 99.7 FM, The Vibe. It's easily the best one in Las Vegas. Just a shameless plug for them just because they're cool people, and I listen to the station anyway. All right. Welcome in also to everybody else up and down the Midwest, out to Montgomery, Alabama, and Auburn, Alabama, and Columbus, Georgia. Listening in on WAUD, that is home of the Atlanta Braves, 1230 on the AM dial. Thanks for driving home with us. And everybody over in Atlanta, thanks for waking up with us, listening in on WDJY 99.1 FM. And everybody else, pick your favorite cable company, your favorite platform to listen in on, stream on, blah, blah, blah. All right, so that's a big thanks for everybody. And by the way, in case you're just tuning in, if you missed the top of the show, there was an announcement for the Vacation Buddies. Vacation Buddies offering a couple of nights right here in Las Vegas or in Orlando, Florida, or in Branson, Missouri, if you can answer this simple trivia question. In case you missed it, here it is again. Which of these names is the team name for the National Hockey League team right here in Las Vegas? Is it A, the Mammoth, B, the Kraken, or C, the Golden Knights? If you know the answer, call 888-576-5777, 888-576-5777. Vacation Buddies is not affiliated with this station, but they want to give you a couple of nights right here in Vegas, Orlando, or Branson, Missouri. If you know the answer to that simple trivia question, again, 888-576-5777. Call now. All right, we left off talking about this college football playoff and the rankings and all this other stuff. So, there is an enormous disparity between what seemingly the media wants and what is actually earned on the field. So the college football playoff, as I see it, it's supposed to, first of all, get a good idea as to who is the best in the country, sort of idea. Well, I don't know. I don't really think that's what it does. I think it's who they believe being the sponsors, who the sponsors want to see as the teams, because they're the ones that are putting the money for the big TV contracts. And as I see it, these universities are tied in with these companies for their name, image, and likeness, and then the brands are pushed by the athletes, because they're not even student athletes at this point, in my opinion. They're just athletes. And it's about money, 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 money.
Show me the money!
And I'll show you a champion. That's what it seems to be. And as we look at it, we say, well, I guess the standings kind of means something in the grand scheme of things, because that's how we're going to determine some of these alleged champions of their conferences, because Sometimes they have divisions, and sometimes they don't. Kind of like sometimes you feel like a nut, sometimes you don't. But anyway, that's how these divisions, in my opinion, they are set out there. And the one thing that I see that's right about college football is Division II. They got it right. They have, a playoff system that works, whereas the FBS, which the last two letters seem to be what it represents, don't seem to have it right for that bowl, the bowl series, if you will. So let's take a quick look at these conferences, and here we're nearing the end of the season, and the Navy midshipmen are 6-1, and they lead the American Athletic Conference right now, and they're just ahead by a half a game over two teams that appear in the AP Top 25. Yet, ironically, Navy does not. They have 2 losses. Tulane's got 2 losses. They appear in the top 25. However, Navy is not in there. Figure that one out. Anyway, moving on. Navy is 6-1. Tulane and North Texas, 2 very good squads, are right behind them, a half a game behind them. So is East Carolina, by the way, another very good squad. And they've won their last 4 games. And so those are really the teams battling it out to win the AAC. And so I wonder if Navy wins out and they win, I guess, their conference title game, will they get a shot at the college football playoff? Who knows? Over in the ACC, the picture's coming a little bit more clear with Georgia Tech, Virginia at 6-1 apiece. Georgia Tech's the only team that has 1 loss in the entire conference. And they seem to have the inside track to the college football playoff. Although a conference championship game potentially between either Virginia and Georgia Tech, Pittsburgh and Georgia Tech, SMU or Georgia Tech. That could happen. It's very unlikely. And here's the crazy part about this. Miami, who is ranked 13th and they're in the college football playoff picture, Miami is 4-2 and they're 8-2 overall, yet they're 1.5 games behind Georgia Tech. And somehow they're in the CFP picture, which to me makes no sense whatsoever because they are a 2-loss team. And if that's the case, then why isn't Virginia in a better position at a 2-loss team? Because they're 6-1 in the conference. So in the hunt are Duke and Louisville as well. I think the drop-off's at Louisville because they have 3 losses where Duke only's going to have a couple of conference losses. They still have an outside chance to get into that college football playoff as well, just like Miami does. And the balance of the ACC, you just scratch your head and say, well, all right, how is Boston College on a 10-game losing streak, 0-7 in the conference? And we covered this last week. It just doesn't make sense. Syracuse, who, boy, they can really get up for games sometimes, and somehow they're 1-6 in the conference. Florida State, an abysmal 2-5, yet they're bowl eligible with 5 wins. Imagine that. Stanford 2-5. Carolina 2-5. The Fighting Bill Belichick's, believe it or not, still have a chance to be bowl eligible with another win because I think you need 6 wins, not 5 wins. Anyway, so they need to win their last 2 games, and NC State needs to win 1 more of those as well. So even the Cal Bears are bowl eligible, believe it or not. Over in the Big 12, there's some good football being played over there, folks. Texas Tech, a very good squad, and they don't give up a whole hell of a lot either. They've given up 100 points in 11 games. That's not bad. That's not bad. That is rivaling some of the best teams in the country. That's why they're ranked in the, we'll call it the top 5. Brigham Young, same thing. Brigham Young is 6-1. They're a half a game behind Texas Tech. Those are the 2 1-loss teams in the Big 12, likely on a collision course to play in the championship game. But there are a bunch of bowl teams in there, all the way down to, I'm going to say, Texas Christian, TCU, 6-4 overall. Iowa State 6-4. K-State will pick up 1 more win, but then Arizona, Cincinnati, Arizona State, Houston, and Utah, all bowl teams at this point. So you can see a lot of bowl action out of the Big 12 conference. Over in the Big 10, it's still Indiana is in first place. That's right, Indiana's in first place. They're 8-0 in the conference, 11-0 overall. And Ohio State is, better yet, Ohio State is 7-0 in conference and 10-0 overall. Now, USC, here's an interesting thing. Now, should Indiana fall to, I don't know, possibly Purdue, you never know. Should they fall in that game or in the coming week, guess what? USC or Oregon could slip into that championship game. Should Ohio State lose to Michigan, then USC or Oregon can jump into that spot. However, if Michigan gets a win over Ohio State, they'll have the tiebreaker and they'll jump into the number 1 slot. The only way that USC or Oregon can get in there is if Indiana happens to lose one of their last game or two. That's how that whole thing will play out. But again, a lot of bowl-eligible teams all the way down to, well, hell, even Northwestern with one more win, they become bowl-eligible, but Nebraska, Illinois, Minnesota, Washington, Iowa, and then the other ones we mentioned, all bowl-eligible teams at this point. And, in fact, Conference USA, we're going to cover this one real quick. Conference USA has Jacksonville State and Western Kentucky, 2 6-win teams. Western Kentucky sits a half a game behind because they played one more game and actually lost one more, yet they have one more in the win column. So those two teams are sort of on a collision course right now. Kennesaw State right behind them in case one of them falters. Kennesaw is a very good squad, and so is Missouri State. If you don't know anything about Missouri State, the Bears, listen, these guys are good, kind of like the real Bears from Chicago. All right, back here, finishing up Conference USA and the others in just a few moments. Don't go anywhere.
If I was your mother and you had a drug problem, I'd grab you by the ear and make you call and get help. You can be in treatment tomorrow and start to get clean in 7 days. Follow Mom's advice and call the Detox and Treatment Helpline now. Write this number down.
800-814-8628. 800-814-8628. 800-814-8628. That's 800-814-8628.
Are you or someone you love struggling with an addiction to drugs or alcohol and want to be set free from the chains of addiction? Then call Addiction Helpline America right now to get the help you need. From drug and alcohol addiction to dual diagnosis treatment, we provide a confidential helpline to help people like you get sober and live happy, substance-free lives.
Treatment helped me get my life back. I was so addicted, the only person I could focus on was myself and what I needed. I hit rock bottom and lost everything. Through treatment, I was able to overcome those demons and focus on my family again.
I used until I overdosed and almost died. That was the end of the road for me. After seeking treatment, I now have hope. I learned skills that help me deal with life on life's terms.
800-426-4994. 800-426-4994. 800-426-4994. That's 800-426-4994.
Why pay retail for your next car? Just visit beepinautos.com to find your new-to-you car or truck. They find cars for people, even when cars are hard to find. So just go to beepinautos.com and click on Find Me a Car, and they find your perfect car on the wholesale market. Beepinautos.com. They're a car concierge. Beepinautos.com. BEEPIN autos.com. Beepinautos.com. Now you have a friend in the car business when you need it most. Trusted since 2013. Just click Find Me a Car at beepinautos.com.
Investors, keep listening to learn how to get your free gold report. A currency crisis is upon us. The U.S. dollar has been the world's reserve currency for over 50 years, but that is changing. It's time to protect your retirement. Decades of reckless borrowing and spending have critically weakened the dollar. The U.S. has become the world's biggest debtor with over $35 trillion in debt. Plus, the dollar's become weaponized. Countries are dumping it. Investors who wait until it's too late could lose big. There is one safe haven: gold. Diversify your portfolio with a physical asset they can't take away. Call the Reagan Gold Group right now and ask for your free gold guide. Here's our number:
800-876-7041. 800-876-7041. 800-876-7041. That's 800-876-7041.
Hey everyone, Dave Jackson here, ESPN rules analyst on ESPN Hockey, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. Folks, make sure to check out thesportscircus.com for our upcoming guests, our prior guests, recorded shows, which can be found on Apple, Amazon, Audible, Spotify, iHeart, YouTube, Stitcher, Deezer, Pandora, you name it, we're there. You can't get away from us. Also, make sure you check out the partners page. Lots of great partners at thesportscircus.com, and one of them, Friends of the Sports Circus. Of course, we want to call out our friends over with Blue Oyster Cult. That's right, the rock and roll band, legendary band, been around forever. Just an absolute hit machine. One of the partners for the circus. And listen, click on that link that's on the partners page. And of course, it'll take you right over to their tour schedule. You can see all the merch that they've got and read all about the band. And boy, they've been around for a long time, just really doing it. Buck Dharma, a good friend of the show. And listen, folks, go check them out if you've never seen them live. They don't fix it in the mix. They don't use auto-tune. They don't use backing tracks. They don't do any of that. They just get out there and, like Buck told me, probably about, in fact, it was on Halloween afternoon. He said, I just like to fly without a net, meaning no backing tracks, no auto-tune, no nothing. So whatever you sound or whatever you hear, that's the sound they're actually putting out, and it's not something to try to make them sound better like a lot of other bands. I don't care, or if it's a country music artist or R&B. It just seems like everybody uses auto-tune for their voice or something. It's just awful. How about some real talent out there? Blue Oyster Cult, check them out, folks. There's a first-class band, and they've been doing it forever. And no, I don't get anything for saying that. I just support them. All right, folks, welcome back to everybody. You know you are TV and radio and streaming. All right, leaving off in the last segment with Conference USA, left off with Jacksonville State and Western Kentucky and Kennesaw State and Missouri State. All of those four teams have a shot to win the Conference USA Championship, which, why does it matter? Bowl games, of course, but also when it comes to the potential of the group of 5 input for the college football playoff. It's kind of like token. But there's some bowl eligible teams in there, those 4 teams. Then Florida International and Louisiana Tech have a chance to become bowl eligible this weekend. The Independents, Notre Dame, and University of Connecticut. Now, Connecticut's a real head scratcher. And frankly, I mean, you got one team that's 8-2, the other one's 8-3. Connecticut is 8-3, and boy, have they turned it around. They're giving points up, but they're scoring the same amount as those guys from South Bend. And so when you look at what UConn has done, boy, they've really figured it out on the football field. Just when you think that they're not very good, like they used to not be good, guess what? These guys can play. Connecticut will be a bowl game team. Over to the Mid-American Conference, another group of 5. Western Michigan leads the way by 1 game over the Bobcats of Ohio University. Both of those teams 7-4 overall, but it looks like there's a lot more to be determined in the MAC before a champion can be crowned, because Central Michigan, Toledo, Buffalo, and Miami, the Redhawks, Miami of Ohio, they're all 4-2. And Western Michigan still has some unfinished business over there in the Mid-American. And moving on to the Mountain West, which will basically look very different next year. It's San Diego State sitting 1 game ahead of Fresno State, Boise State, New Mexico, and Vegas, plus the Rainbows of Hawaii. And so all of those teams will be in bowl games this year, and Utah State with 1 more win, they'll be in a bowl game too, but they sit 2 behind San Diego State. You have to really cut it off after the Rainbows, and I believe that, again, there's a lot more work to be done here in this conference to determine that champion or who's going to play in the championship game. Over in the Pac-2, but you can call them the Pac-12, both of these teams, frankly, are pretty bad. You have one team that's 5-5 overall, being Washington State. Yeah, one more. I guess they could be a representative of the Pac-2, but you can call them the Pac-12 despite there's only 2 games or 2 teams. And they've actually given up still a field goal more than they've scored. They are 4-1 at home, but they're 1-4 on the road. Oregon State, on the other hand, they're in the toilet. It just doesn't matter. Yet, they lead, believe it or not, They actually lead the Pac-12 or the Pac-2 because they're 1-0, and that one win comes against the other conference team in Washington State. I mean, this is kind of ridiculous. So, nonetheless, over in the SEC, a lot of good football being played there, and well, a lot of teams are going to be in bowl games, and they're going to be in good bowl games too. It goes all the way down to Wisconsin, or better yet, to Kentucky, the Wildcats, at 5-5. One more win, they're bowl eligible. Same thing, Miss State 5-6. They'll go to a bowl game, and that's where the cutoff. Auburn, South Carolina, Arkansas, and Florida. Imagine that lineup not being in bowl games. Everybody else will. Now at the top, a half a game lead for Texas A&M over Georgia, and you have A&M is undefeated, and they are number 3 in the CFP and number 3 in the AP. Georgia sits a half a game behind A&M. Ole Miss is 1 game behind. So again, there's more work to be done here in the SEC. And by the way, Alabama's loss, it gives them 1 loss. That was to Oklahoma. And that doesn't look like it is a SEC game because it still has the conferences split up with the Big 12. Let me run to that. No, they do. They got it right. Oklahoma is 4-2, Texas 4-2, Vanderbilt 4-2. Those are all conference records. But it is Alabama at 6-1 with their only loss in the conference being to Oklahoma. And so I guess if Georgia loses a game, it would be Ole Miss or Alabama if they went out to play Texas A&M. I mean, there's a lot going on in the SEC over here. A lot of good football being played there. But see, the issue is the SEC that good? That's the real question. We don't really know because the conference is so big, they seem to just play amongst themselves. And I'm not sure what's going on there. Over in the Sun Belt, this is the one that I like. James Madison has a 2-game lead over Coastal. That's Coastal Carolina, the Chanticleers, if you don't know. James Madison should be in the CFP. This is a quality squad. They score a lot of points. They don't give up a ton. I mean, it's literally a 2-to-1 ratio. Coastal is a good squad. They're in a bowl game. Old Dominion, a very good squad. They'll be in a bowl game. Georgia Southern, 1 more win. They're in a bowl game. Marshall, 1 more win. They're in a bowl game as well. Now, that's all in the Eastern Division. In the Western Division, it's Southern Miss. They lead by 1 game over Arkansas State, over the Red Wolves. So there's still a little bit more to be determined there because even the men of Troy are 4-2, 1 game behind Southern Miss. So we'll see what happens with the playoff there. But as we look at all of these standings, we say, what does it tell us? It tells us what the teams have done, but the CFP is sort of like the cat show. That's how I see it. It's almost as if we don't really care what the records show in the division. We only care what we want. And so what does that lead us to? It leads us to the odds for this coming week. And as we look at the odds for week number 13, we say, all right, now some things are going to be determined here. That's what I was alluding to earlier when I said, well, there's a lot more work to be done. So as we look at the odds for week 13, we start out with Miami of Ohio and Buffalo. And it was the Buffalo Bulls at home, opened up -2.5, and it's Miami now -2.5. Buffalo is still good enough to win this game, despite Miami being better in the standings. So we'll see what happens there. Miami is the odds-on favorite, but I kind of think Buffalo's going to get themselves a W there. So we'll see what happens with that squad. Now, over in the Mid-American is Central Michigan. Again, more work to be determined over there. Central Michigan is traveling over to Kent State, and they're sitting at 7.5 across the board right now, and that 7.5 is a real number. Louisiana, the Ragin' Cajuns of Louisiana, travel to Arkansas State. Arkansas State opens up 3.5. They're at 2.5 across the board, and that's a field goal game, and that seems to be a win for the Ragin' Cajuns. Now, over on Saturday, it's going to be Florida State headed up to Raleigh, North Carolina. Florida State's 4.5 across the board. They should win that game easily. Hawaii travels right here to Vegas. I think I'm going to go to that game. And it's Vegas is a 3-point favorite there, and they probably will win by a larger margin. They're 2.5 at Hard Rock, so if you're betting the home team right there, it's probably a safe bet. Rutgers travels over, that's a Friday game. On Saturday, Rutgers travels to Columbus to play those guys, and Rutgers is going to get murdered in that game. I don't even see that being a game. Whatever the spread is, looks like the home team's going to cover that one. Tulsa travels to West Point to play Army, and that line has come down about a point. I guess in some places, a half a point to a point. That's a true line right around at 10. And Army fighting for, I guess, their playoff lives, so to say, in their conference. Army will get that win. All right, I tell you what, when we come back, we're going to come back with Delaware and Wake Forest, a really good matchup that nobody really saw coming. All right, back here in a few minutes on The Circus. Don't go anywhere.
I always thought he will win our life.
He can't go all the way.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UpperCutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UpperCutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UpperCutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door, without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average and best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at UpperCutChops.com or call 714-948-0100. 714-948-0100. 714-948-0100. Or make your selection directly at UpperCutChops.com.
Do you own a timeshare? Well, face the facts. You made a mistake. You made a bad purchase. A timeshare is not an investment. It's a money pit that continues forever. If you use your timeshare, that's great. But if you don't and you want to legally get out of your contract, call my friends right now at the Timeshare Exit Hotline. They're an experienced team of lawyers who help good people like you get out of a timeshare contract that they just don't want. Don't throw away your money on maintenance fees. Use it for things you really want. We can help you end your timeshare contract and stop the money drain immediately. If you're ready to move on with your timeshare, call our team right now.
Cancel your timeshare now with a free call. 800-298-3173. 800-298-3173. 800-298-3173. That's 800-298-3173.
Owning great property is almost impossible these days. At least, that's what people keep saying. They don't know about National Premier Properties. Do you have $350 or a credit card? You can own a great piece of property in a resort community. National Premier Properties has over 51 years of experience helping people just like you purchase amazing properties across the U.S. and in Mexico, Canada, the Bahamas. It takes less than 5 minutes to turn your dream into reality. Visit nationalpremierproperties.com and make it happen now.
Why pay retail for your next car? Just visit beepinautos.com to find your new-to-you car or truck. They find cars for people, even when cars are hard to find. So just go to beepinautos.com and click on Find Me a Car, and they find your perfect car on the wholesale market. Beepinautos.com. They're a car concierge. Beepinautos.com. BEEPIN autos.com. Beepinautos.com. Now you have a friend in the car business when you need it most. Trusted since 2013. Just click Find Me a Car at beepinautos.com.
Hey everybody, this is Brian Urlacher. Welcome back to the Sports Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. Folks, make sure you check out the store at thesportscircus.com. Lots of great items over there. Hats, hoodies, t-shirts, coats, sweatpants, travel mugs, coffee mugs, pillows, mouse pads, you name it. All kinds of great gift ideas for the holidays coming up. That's the store at thesportscircus.com. A shameless plug for the show. Make sure you check out thesportscircus.com's store. Of course, we get the super applause every time that we're mentioned just because we can. All right, leaving off with Delaware and Wake Forest and the odds. Yeah, we want to talk about the odds. Why? Because sometimes they matter, sometimes they don't. Hence the cough and the, yeah, that kind of thing. Anyway, Delaware, a very, very good squad. They're getting 18.5 points at the Hard Rock at all those casinos, 17.5 at MGM and 17.5 at Caesars Palace. It seems to me that 18.5 at the Hard Rock could be one of the best buys of the entire week. They're playing a pretty good Wake Forest team, but I gotta tell you, man, Delaware is flying so far under the radar that this seems to be, just from my first look at the odds, as Sal the bookmaker, I don't see how Delaware doesn't win this game straight up. That is the alarming part of that whole matchup. Moving on, Miami, the Hurricanes, are traveling to play the Hokies of Vatek. And so Vatek, again, is getting 18.5 from Miami. And Vatek is not a good team. However, they're not a terrible, terrible team at home. That seems to be a lot of points from Miami, who is very inconsistent. Missouri will go into Norman, Oklahoma, and try to stifle the Paperclips. Of course, that's what I call them because it looks like a paperclip for a logo for the O and the U for Oklahoma. Nonetheless, Missouri plus 7.5 seems like one hell of a deal. Louisville travels to Dallas to play SMU, and that line is steady at 2.5. Kansas will travel to Ames, Iowa to play the Cyclones. Iowa opens up 4.5, and they are still 4.5 at the casinos. Minnesota travels to Evanston to play the last game, I believe, or second last game, against Northwestern in their stadium. And as a matter of fact, I don't even think that's going to be in their stadium. No, I don't really think so, because the last game was played at Wrigley Field. Anyway, Northwestern looks pretty good at -3. That seems like a pretty good lock right here. The lock of the year, if you can get this on the money line somewhere, is Texas A&M all over Samford. That's S-A-M Ford, Samford. And they are playing those guys, and that should be, that actually has a chance to be an 80-point victory. Charlotte, here's another one. This one has a chance to be an 80-point victory. Charlotte travels to Athens, Georgia to play the Bulldogs. Charlotte doesn't stand a snowball's chance in hell in this game. But then again, stranger things have happened. Old Domino traveling to Georgia Southern, and they sit at 12.5 across the board. Unless you're at Caesars, Caesars has them at 12. That game will just be fun to watch. I don't trust the line in that one. Washington State out of the Pac-2 travel to James Madison, the Dukes. And this is a good thing for James Madison. It'll be a game against, ironically, the Pac-12 against one of the former Power 5s, whatever, in which now it's Power 4. But James Madison will show on a bigger stage how good they are, and they're every bit of a 13.5-point favorite in that matchup. Arizona will host the Bears, Sikkim from the Baylor Bears, and Arizona is sitting at 6.5. If you're willing to lay the 6.5, you got yourself a deal. You can bet it online and get 7 if you're betting for Baylor at a couple of places. All right, Ball State travels to Toledo. Toledo should absolutely destroy. They are the Rockets. They should absolutely crush Ball State. I don't even see that being a game. That shouldn't even be a game. That should be a 40 to 50-point win. Wyoming will host, and boy, you want to talk about a stunner. They will host Nevada. Here's the thing. Nevada ends up with a win against San Jose State, an enormous win, 55-10 last week. I remember because I had some action on that one. And Wyoming is now playing the same team that just crushed San Jose, which is a good squad. So that means Nevada likely will lay an egg in Laramie, Wyoming, and Nevada should probably lose by 2 to 3 touchdowns in that game. It doesn't make sense, folks, but it's the betting world. Nevada should lose that game. Missouri State, the Bears, travel to Kennesaw State, 2 really good teams that not too many people know about. That's a good conference game in the Sun Belt. Watch out for this one. This one can go either way, and I'm leaning towards Missouri State with the points. Mercer travels to Auburn. Auburn should get themselves an easy win here. You would think, and about this time, I think a year or so ago, it was Auburn hosting New Mexico State, and New Mexico State came in, if I'm not mistaken, somebody correct me if it's wrong, New Mexico State came in and stunned Auburn. I don't think they want that to happen again. Mercer is a 27.5 point dog for a very good reason. Auburn really needs a big showing here for War Eagle Nation. Eastern Illinois, Alabama, don't even think about it. Alabama by 300. Marshall travels to App State. Marshall is a 4.5 point across the board. They opened up 3.5. And App State's a pretty good team at home. I'll take App State with the points. Connecticut, we talked about them earlier. Traveling to Florida Atlantic, a pretty good squad is the question. I don't think so. I'll take Florida Atlantic with 7.5. That's at the Hard Rock. New Mexico State, I just mentioned them. They actually covered last week. That was one of my big giveaways for the Sports Circus and for Sell the Bookmaker. They covered against Rocky Top. And guess what? This time, they're traveling over to UTEP. It's a very close game. I don't see how UTEP could beat anybody. I'm going to take New Mexico State straight up on this one. I'll take the 3.5 points there. Sam Houston goes to Middle Tennessee, and Sam Houston is getting 6.5. They probably need about 16.5 in that one. Liberty will travel to Louisiana Tech. Louisiana Tech, a very good squad. They're a home team dog everywhere except the Hard Rock. They have met -0.5. So Liberty is laying 1.5, kind of like Louisiana Tech, just to win the game. South Florida travels to UAB. South Florida is significantly better, but the question is, are they 21.5 better? That's how you got to look at these games, folks. Are they that much better? South Florida fighting for something, basically just a better bowl game. They don't have a shot at the CFP or anything like that at this point. So they're just fighting for a better bowl game. Duke is traveling 8 miles over to Chapel Hill to play those guys. Duke is 6.5. They should be 16.5. Belichick's going to have a really long day against his crosstown rivals. Arkansas travels to Texas. Arkansas has seen better days, and Texas they open up 10.5. That line's down to 9.5, 9.5, pretty much anywhere. But Texas should win by 2 scores, so Texas should be okay there. Oregon has a really tough game hosting USC. That line opened up, Oregon 14.5. It's down to 9.5 across the board. And Oregon, they should win the game, but will they cover? I don't think they're going to cover. That should be whoever has the ball last wins the game. I think Oregon will have the ball last. Michigan State travels to Iowa, and that Michigan State team is, boy, they're not very good. And they have all those controversies and all the crap that surrounds them. This is just what happens with Michigan State, in my opinion. They're terrible as far as, I don't know, whether it's recruiting violations or this violation or that violation. It seems like bad behavior over there in East Lansing. They're nothing like the guys from Ann Arbor. Anyway, Iowa going away in that game. East Carolina is laying 2.5. That's the current line across the board. They open up at 4 at UTSA, the Roadrunners of San Antonio. Man, that'll be a fun game to watch, and you almost don't even want to bet it. Got to tell you, if I was betting it, I would probably take UTSA +3 in that one. Kentucky travels to Nashville to play Vanderbilt. When's the last time you've seen Vanderbilt this late in the season, this big of a favorite against anybody? They're 9.5 essentially across the board. They opened up 7.5 or 9.5, and it's Vanderbilt basically a 2-score favorite over Kentucky. And Kentucky, one more win and they become bowl eligible. So watch out. Kentucky may keep it close, but Vandy gets the win. Southern Miss, a very good Southern Miss team, opened up -3. They're at 1.5 against South Alabama. That seems like a pretty small number at 1.5. It's all the casinos have at 1.5, so I'm going to lay the 1.5 and go with Southern Miss. Jacksonville State and Florida International. Again, here's another one of those games where Jacksonville State opens up -1.5, And they are 1 at MGM, 1.5 at Caesars, and only a half a point. They're actually plus a half a point at Hard Rock. So somebody thinks that Florida International is going to win, and guess what? I'm going to join that parade. Syracuse travels to South Bend to play Notre Dame. And Syracuse is getting 35.5. And here's the one thing that we know about Syracuse this year. When they played the bigger name squads, I'm not even going to say schools, we'll say the bigger name squads, Syracuse has showed up and they've covered. I mean, just barely, but they cover. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take the 35.5 against Notre Dame. Tulane travels to Temple. So it's the Green Wave traveling up to Philadelphia, and they're laying 8.5. The line opened up 8.5. It's still 8.5. And that's probably a pretty good line, but Tulane should cover that one because they're fighting for their CFP lives. Oak State, a terrible team, travels to play Central Florida. Oak State in a whitewashing. The 14, give it away. It's no big deal. Michigan, needing this win, travel over to Maryland, but they're laying 13.5 in some place. MGM has them at 13.5. Caesars does. Hard Rock got about 14.5. If you can get them under 14, then Michigan seems to be a pretty good pick right there. TCU travels to Houston, so it's basically Dallas against Houston in this one. And TCU is fighting for their bowl eligibility lives at this point. Actually, they're both bowl eligible, but TCU is fighting for the opportunity to play beyond the regular bowl games. So I'm going to go with TCU in this one. K-State and Utah. Utah should win this one going away. Georgia State and the Men of Troy. This one is Troy all day long. Coastal travels to South Carolina in a pretty close and heated matchup right there. I'm going to take Coastal with 24.5. Clemson all day over Furman. Texas State big over Louisiana Monroe. Georgia Tech eke one out over Pittsburgh. Penn State will not cover the 10 against Nebraska. Colorado State will get demolished by Boise State. New Mexico over the Air Force. Tennessee, I think it's an easy win at Florida. Cal with a loss, I believe, at Stanford. Illinois with a tough win against Wisconsin. The Mean Green will roll over Rice, lay the 18. Western Kentucky could shock LSU in this game. Brigham Young will beat Cincinnati in Cincinnati. Arizona State should destroy Deion and the Buffaloes. Washington all day over UCLA at the Rose Bowl. San Jose State with a bounce-back game to stun San Diego State. Utah State will stun Fresno. Akron over Bowling Green. Western Michigan all day over Northern. And the Bobcats of Ohio big over UMass. That's going to do it for the circus today. I'm your ringmaster, Sal. We'll see you in 23 hours right here on your favorite station. So long, everyone.
Owning great property is almost impossible these days. At least, that's what people keep saying. They don't know about National Premier Properties. Do you have $350 or a credit card? You can own a great piece of property in a resort community. National Premier Properties has over 51 years of experience helping people just like you purchase amazing properties across the U.S. and in Mexico, Canada, the Bahamas. It takes less than 5 minutes to turn your dream into reality. Visit nationalpremierproperties.com and make it happen now.
Why pay retail for your next car? Just visit beepinautos.com to find your new-to-you car or truck. They find cars for people, even when cars are hard to find. So just go to beepinautos.com and click on Find Me a Car, and they find your perfect car on the wholesale market. Beepinautos.com. They're a car concierge. Beepinautos.com. BEEPIN autos.com. Beepinautos.com. Now you have a friend in the car business when you need it most. Trusted since 2013. Just click Find Me a Car at beepinautos.com.